Are you afraid of flying? After the 9/11 attack and the two more recent Malaysian airline disasters, there have been news stories highlighting how people are choosing to travel by car than to fly, and that's because of the risks that they perceive. These incidents feed into the uncertainty and worry that people have who have a fear of flying. Following 9/11, there's been an increased use in cars for travel, and that's resulted in more car accidents.
This table shows the number of deaths by air and by car in the US and in the UK. If you have a look at the table, for instance, in 2005 in the United States, there were 18,400 deaths by car, and the population at the time was 281 million. And so what we're going to do first of all is to calculate the crude rate per 100,000 population. And so the thing to note here is that it's per 100,000 population. And so what we want to do is, instead of dividing 18,400 by 281 million, we want to divide 18,400 by 281 million divided by 100,000, because we're finding the crude rate of deaths per 100,000. So we're going to do that using pen and paper.
The table shows the deaths by car and by air. So you can see here, this section is the deaths by car, this section the deaths by air. And what we want to do is to calculate the crude rate of deaths per 100,000 population, first of all for car and then by air. So you can see for car that there were 18,400 deaths per 281 million population. So we want to divide 281 million by 100,000 to find the crude rate of deaths per 100,000 population. So let's do that. So 281 million divided by 100,000 gives us 2,810. And we know that there were 18,400 deaths from road traffic accidents in the US, and so we want to divide that now by 2,810. And we're going to use our calculators to do that. So 18,400 divided by 2,810, and we get 6.548. So 6.548. And we want to round that to two decimal places. So if you look at what figures in the second decimal place, look at the number after it. If it's 5 or more, then we need to round up. And in this case it is, so it becomes 6.55. Okay, we want to now look at the crude rate of deaths per 100,000 for air travel. So again, if we look back at our table, you can see that for air travel there were 66 deaths for 291 million population. But again, we want the crude rate of deaths per 100,000 population, so we need to divide 291 million by 100,000. So let's do that. So for air travel, we had 291 million divided by 100,000, and that gave us 2,910. Now the number of deaths was 66, and we want to divide 66 by 2,910. Again, you can do that on your calculator. So if we do 66 divided by 2,910, we get 0.0226, so 0.0226. And we're going to round it to two decimal places as we did before. So look at the figure that's in the second decimal place. Look at the number after it. If it's 5 or more, we round up. In this case, it's not, so it'll stay simply as 0.02. Now, it's possible to work out using these figures how many times more people die in road traffic accidents compared to flying. And so we need to compare the rates. So we have 6.55 and we have 0.02. And to compare those, we're going to divide them. And again, you can do this using your calculators. So we have 6.55 divided by 0.02. And that gives us 327.5. So 327.5. So this means that approximately 300 times more people in the US are killed by driving than by air travel. Your challenge is to calculate the crude rates of deaths per 100,000 population in the UK for car and plane travel and to compare these.